of week where we discuss all kinds of DevOps related CI/CD testing frameworks which are used in and around Meshery's ecosystem. So before we move forward with the standing agenda items and other topics which we would be discussing today, there are a couple of housekeeping items which we all usually go over. First is like make sure you add your names in the meeting minutes in the attendees list. I have shared the link to the meeting minutes in the chat. So ensure your name is there so that it's easier to track who's joining, and so that we can later on assign you issues. And that's about it. And the second thing is that if you are new on this call, make sure you introduce yourself to others so that it's like one of the things that we do in all of our calls, so that newcomers feel like they are at their home and other people can get a chance to know them. So I do see a lot of new members today. Pratib, are you new on this call?
Yes, I just joined today.
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
So I am Parthiv Datta. I am a full stack developer and an active open source contributor. Previously, I contributed to GCC Rask and Web3.js, and currently I found this layer 5 Meshery repo very exciting. I already made my first PR and currently looking for better issues so that I understand the repo from its code and make more contributions.
Okay, that's cool. It's great that you joined today. By the way, what's your
Yeah,
favorite color?
my favorite color is black.
Okay, nice.
You are
Sort of,
already wearing one.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sort of, Sonia, are you also new on this call? Would you like to
Yes, I
introduce?
am. Yes, I am new to this call, but I'm not new to the community. So, hi everyone, this is Saurav, and I've been contributing to part of community work in the Meshery, and I've also been the Google Developer Student Club's lead. And yeah, I have started to host meetings now. So yeah, thanks for giving me a chance to introduce myself further. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Daniel, I think you are also new on this specific call. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a backend engineer. Joined the community fairly recently. I'm glad to also join the build and release cycle. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great that you joined. Kingsley, are you also new on this call? Would you like to introduce yourself? I think there are some network issues on his side. It's fine. You can also introduce on the chat if that's fine. So I think we covered. Okay, Isaac is also new. He's still connecting. Okay, so I think we can move forward with our item for today. That is, the very first item is Meshery test plan. So basically, Meshery test plan is about giving an overview of different tests that Meshery performs on its different components. And this is laid down in a spreadsheet, which helps us track different kinds of tests, the actions that they perform, and what's the expected outcome, the guidelines for the specific test, and whether that is currently being covered in our integration test or our E2E test. So these tests can be written either in the form of bash script or in the form of whether that's a unit test which you write in Golang or the scripts that we have for Meshery CTL. And this spreadsheet should give you an overview of that. And if in case you're new and you don't know, E2E basically means end-to-end testing, which means like it's a process in which one of the complete feature of an entire component is tested. Let's say if we are talking about Meshery Istio adapter, let me also open it side by side. So Meshery Istio adapter is one of the adapters of Meshery, which allows Meshery to have different functionalities of Istio service mesh through which is exposed to this interface, and this actually runs as a separate container and talks to Meshery through gRPC. And so if you go to one of its testing, which is laid down in workflows under E2E tests, So what this E2E test, this workflow basically does is that first of all, it tries to start Meshery server using its own Meshery CTL. Then it tries to install Istio service mesh through this adapter. Then it does is that it deploys one of the sample application of Istio service mesh through this adapter, and then it looks out for whether all the ports for that specific adapter specific service mesh comes up or not. So you'll see that Grafana and Prometheus are the add-ons of Istio service mesh, and Istio-D, Istio egress, and ingress are the other main components. So basically, we assert them through this framework, and this actually calls another workflow which is in Meshery, and which is like the parent workflow which is called on each of the adapters. So this is one of the example of E2E testing that is done, and all the results of these tests are published on Meshery docs. So if you will go to under supported platforms, and you'll see like there is a compatibility matrix which actually gets updated on each release, whether it's stable release or the edge release. So if you are new and you don't know, Meshery actually supports two release cycle. One is edge, which is a release which is made on every merging of a PR, and there is a stable release which is made whenever we make an actual release to the release that publishing release which you have on GitHub. So there are two forms of that. So both of them, the results of both of the releases are actually published here, so that every Meshery user and Meshery contributors knows about the health of different components. So yes. So this is a little bit on the overview, but currently will realize that most of the tests are failing. Like if we just go right now to actions and we go to our E2E test, and we realize that even so there is some issue which we'll discuss later on this today's call. I have added already that in the agenda item, but so that's a little bit of overview of what this E2E testing is and what are different kind of tests that Meshery does, and through an example of this spreadsheet. So first of all, like who would like to take it? First of all, does it make any sense? Does anybody have any questions on this? I'll also share the link to this spreadsheet in the chat.
So just to repeat this, is it the case that we have GitHub workflows that are invoking Meshery CTL to basically do functional tests of Meshery CTL's capability? Okay.
Yeah.
And so inside those workflows, there's test matrix that you can set up then, I guess, to be able to test out different operating systems. You can spin up a super small Kubernetes, like single node cluster, do some stuff on Kubernetes. Okay. So this looks slightly unhealthy.
Yeah.
Some red. Looks like we could use some help here.
Yeah, actually, I think this is due to recent upgrade to one of the Dependabots, because you'll see that this is coming from Dependabot upgrade, which is not compatible with the existing thing. I have a feeling it's coming from Meshkit, because Meshkit is still on V 1.19, but we have upgraded some of the components to V 1.21, I think 1.21. But I have to, yeah.
Okay. I'll take a note.
Anybody other have any questions? Who would like to volunteer for fixing them? Like we have like about 10 adapters. Each of them would have a different E2E test. So there are enough for everybody to take, but learn while you contribute. Here's another here. Okay, so while other decide, I can go over to the next part of this spreadsheet, which is like this one gives an overview of different tests, while this one gives an overview of different workflows that are currently learning. So let's say if we talk about in Meshery repo, there is a stable release, which we can talk about. Yeah. So what this stable release is all about is building Meshery. So whenever, like I just discussed that there is an edge release and a stable release. So let's just directly go to this. Okay, it's not a link. Okay, so if you go to Meshery, and I'll quickly show you how it's working. Yeah. So this is that workflow which was discussed, which was mentioned here. So what this workflow is all about is building Meshery image and pushing it to Docker Hub. So what we do here is that first we ensure that all our documentation is updated. So we have one of the job that does that. We have two kinds of documentation. One is the REST documentation, other one is a GraphQL. So what you'll find is that if you go to API docs, both of the documentation are actually published on each release on this documentation. So this is the GraphQL one, and this is the REST API. So Meshery actually internally supports both REST and GraphQL API. If you're new and you don't know, REST is like a one-time connects transaction between backend and frontend, while GraphQL is like a subscription, which uses WebSockets, and it's like a continuous communication between backend and frontend. So it's just a one-time setup, and once it's done, then backend can like repeatedly send all the changes that happens to the Meshery's client, which is currently just Meshery's UI. So yes, and so that was one of the part of that. The second is like then we build Meshery. So what this does is that it uses Docker commands to build a stable image of Meshery, then it tags with this specific tag, then it pushes to Docker Hub. And then we also build our Meshery CTL along with this. Meshery CTL is one of the clients of Meshery, which like Meshery UI is one of the client, Meshery CTL is another, and you can do all kinds of stuff through Meshery CTL as well. It's generally used for setting up workflows like we usually do for our other components for this for having a for using Meshery to any of the workflows for testing framework. Meshery CTL is used. And then we also, like if you don't know, Meshery also have its own Docker extension. So if you are running Docker and you recently, if you were like you didn't miss last DockerCon, Meshery has released its own Docker extension, which is like one of the ways of interfacing with Meshery. And so we also build that Docker image for Docker extension, and we then push it to specific um, we push it with a specific tag so that it can be then used for that extension. Then we also notify all the maintainers so that in case something goes wrong while publishing them, then we send an email out to all the maintainers. Moreover, we also have Helm charts. So it's like, if you don't, Helm chart is our way of packaging our Kubernetes components. So if you want to run Meshery on Kubernetes, then you might want to use Helm charts or Meshery. So Meshery's Helm chart are published to Artifact Hub. And yes, I think that's an overview. And one more thing, yes, Meshery has its own, if you missed that, which was unveiled in the last KubeCon EU, that Meshery has its own playground, which was, if you haven't used it so far, then you should go to play.meshery.io. And this is like one of the ways of using all the CNCF projects, like all of them are available here. And you can just start using and collaborating with your teammates or your friends. It's quite intuitive. So in case you missed that, you can use that as well. So this was just an overview of this spreadsheet, this part of the spreadsheet. So does anybody have any questions on this before we move forward? Okay, so no question. So okay, so okay. I was just saying that if someone would like to contribute to the testing framework, especially the E2E testing, which are currently failing right now, so you can create a quick issue on the specific adapter on which you would like to work, and then one of the maintainers will assign that to you, and then you can start working on it. It's quite urgent currently, being that no one would be able to use the latest release until it's fixed. So yes, that's about it.
So Saurabh, do you have there are open issues on this. I think there are open issues on upgrading adapters from Golang 119 to 121. And is that,
Yes.
that's what you're,
Yes, yes. Issues are open for the adapters, and we have also clicked on the submitted too. So
nice. And then,
Yeah.
okay, good. So there's also an open pull request on one of the adapters that performs the upgrade
Kuma, it was
So-
Kuma.
on Kuma, the Meshery adapter for Kuma. So that's fantastic because if you're on the call right now and you're looking for something to do, if you know a bit of Golang, you can
No, I
you
don't
can-
know.
Yeah, no. Rather, if you're on the, so everyone else, for everyone else other than Saurabh that's on the call, what I was saying is Saurabh is facilitated helping people make it really easy to do this thing. So Saurabh has pointed out that there's a pull request on the Kuma adapter right here. This performs the task of upgrading from 119 to 121. So there are 9 other adapters. This is an easy win for anyone, whether you know Golang or maybe even if you don't really know Golang, you just copy the procedure. If you look at the files changed, almost all of the rest of the adapters will just follow the same path. So you'll upgrade go.mod. Like, actually, I think I could do it while I talk to you guys. We could just go get it done. It looks like Aryan Sharma is wanting to take on one. So that's great. If we talk about it long enough, other people might volunteer. Anyway, it's a great way of getting involved because these are pretty easy wins.
Yeah.
Partha?
Yeah, I can take on this. Yes.
Yep. And so Saurabh, okay, good. Yep. Saurabh, you're going to grab one. That's great. Partha will grab one. Aryan will grab one. Abhijit's going to. And so, guys, yeah, you can. There's just open issues on each of the repo. Each of the repos have an open issue. You can go comment, grab it, start on it. Sweet. Good there. That leaves, I think, only 4 other adapters for people to do it. So maybe if the 4 people that volunteered, I think it was 4, if you have success, you can go do it on another one. And then we'll be done.
Yeah, you can get a link to each of the adapters from here. You'll just need to click on the names and it will take you to the repo. So like this, it will be easy. So, okay, moving on to our next item, which is on progress on migrating to Playwright. Philip or Aritra, are you on the call to discuss this? Okay, I believe they are not. Okay, so we can probably skip, or I can give a quick overview if you want. So I can tell you very quickly that there is something like map snapshot. So okay, so map snapshot is one of the Meshery's owns GitHub action. What it does is that it facilitates taking a snapshot of your infrastructure in your GitHub repositories, and then it shows you as a GitHub comment on each PR. So how this is helpful is that it will be quite intuitive if you can visually see your infrastructure while this gets changed on each PR. So you don't have to like manually go and see the different files and do that stuff. So this basically helps in facilitating that. And there was earlier this snapshot repo or this workflow used to use Cypress, which is one of the testing framework, which Meshery has been investing into for quite some time. But we recently realized that it was not, it couldn't match our speed and we need to move away from it. So we started using Playwright. And one of the motives of using Playwright was that like Cypress was usually getting timeout errors. And that was one of the reasons we wanted to move away from that. So we had a recent ask of using Playwright, and we discussed that in yesterday's call as well. Yeah, this is the specific issue um we which was to be referenced while doing that. And in case you don't know, if you haven't already seen this, so let me show you how this snapshot action works. So I think currently it's failing on all the PRs, but let me go to an old PR on which we can see. Okay. Okay, and currently I can find that, but if you see one of the older PRs, then you will find that there is a screenshot of that, which we can also explore on a documentation. It's explained here. That is how to set that up for your GitHub repo. So in case you haven't already used it, so what you have to really do is that go to your Meshery Cloud account, which you can go here, and for connecting to this specific GitHub connection, actually for using this, you have to connect to a specific connection. Meshery as a tool supports a lot of different connections, and GitHub is one of them. And so when you go to this Meshery Cloud account, you will see this connection wizard, which will actually help you to connect this specific mesh map snapshot to your GitHub repo, and it will actually walk you through all the different steps, like selecting your repository, configuring your application paths, then automatically adding your secrets, then automatically adding the workflow, and then it's the finish. So basically, once it's done, then on each PR you would be able to see a quick screenshot of the specific infrastructural changes, and how that would look is like, if you haven't used Playground, then I can show you quickly. Then we will move to the next item. So this is Meshery's Playground, which I was just discussing a few minutes ago. And if you go to this mesh map, which is a visual interface of Meshery for use for seeing your infrastructure in a visual way and collaborating with different people. So let's say this is one of your infrastructure, and there is this specific image would be shown on your GitHub comments whenever something changes. Let's say HT operator changes, or there's one more instance of HT operator, then it would be shown on your GitHub comment. So basically the playwright was for fixing couple of bugs in that snapshot action and ensuring that it doesn't fail over due to timeout error. So yes, so that was about this issue which we discussed. And okay, so let's move to the next item, which is okay, let's discuss first Ashu's item because he's on the call, and then later on I'll discuss about call for volunteers, which I created. So Ashu, would you like to discuss your item first?
Yep.
Mhm.
So there was this requirement that was raised previously to fix one of the workflows that was failing. Uh, and when I went through the logs, I found that there was a port conflict that was happening, and I wanted to get behind that and find how, like what kind of services probably conflicting with another service that is scheduled to be deployed on that particular port. But I couldn't get behind it. Uh, and I even posted a question. But now that I see some of the new runs of the same action, it seems to be fixed. And I think Lee might have some kind of idea about it. I'm really not sure how it's just started working now.
Yeah,
And
it's okay. It might be working now because like we removed adapters from our base Docker Compose file. So that's the reason by default none of the adapters are coming up. So yeah.
yeah, I'm really not sure how it's started to work now, but I'm just dropping the name of the file so that, if anybody is confused what I was talking about. they could probably go into the logs and see that it is working fine right now. Yeah, it wasn't working when it was last discussed.
Yeah, so the fix for that was to stop all the containers before starting the actual containers for Meshery Playground. So like that was the fix for that. So
Oh,
do you have a PR for it? We discussed this. I think I said the same solution on the last call.
the thing that you suggested was to, I guess, go through again the Docker Compose file and look for any two services that might be deployed on the same port, but that wasn't really the case. The service, I believe, was Kuma adapter, I think, that was being deployed on 10002. Uh, so yeah, so there wasn't any other service that was actually, scheduled to be deployed on that specific port. So one other way that I tried finding it out was I just tried running it locally, and then the issue then was I was not really able to replicate the same issue over there. I was not really sure what could be the reason, but it was working fine when I tried to run that individual GitHub action. So yeah, I was really in a bind, but now it seems to have worked fine, maybe due to the latest changes that have occurred in that YAML file that I've just mentioned.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Okay. No, actually, it's working fine right now just because like we are not starting all the adapters by default, but when someone would want to install adapters, then let's say the adapter is already available in the environment, then it will again complain. So the
yeah,
fix
yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
I guess that was a big change, and I was actually around there when that was discussed. But yeah, I think I might need to go and check what could have been changed from then. But yeah, I'm glad that it's resolved now. And you know what? While we are talking about this issue, if you don't mind, uh, I might even like to raise one more point. So there was another requirement by Lee to add something to one of the learning paths, maybe like deployment of some kind of web app, and that could then be adopted into learning paths. But the issue is I really can't get Meshmap to work for myself, and I've just raised the topic in discussion forum as well, and I couldn't seem to get any answer for it. So the issue really is I just can't uh, enable one of the adapters and then start using it. So do you have any idea? I have a link for the topic. Maybe if we can
Mhm. Okay, let's
have.
spend few more minutes and then otherwise if it take more time, then we can discuss this offline on
Yeah,
asynchronous way.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah. True,
I
true.
can just check this. See, like I am not sure about your environment and other stuff. So I likely like after this call, I'll check this and then get back to you. Ideally, just that there is some environmental problem. Are you running Meshery locally or in a Dockerized environment or in a Kubernetes environment?
Uh, I'm not actually running it locally. Do we have to run it locally?
No, like if you're running it locally, then it cannot provision adapters because provisioning requires whether either you're running it in a Dockerized environment or in a Kubernetes environment, then it can provision. Otherwise, if you're just running locally, then you have to locally run the adapters as well. So you have to do make run for each adapter.
Cool. Okay, let's maybe discuss this later.
Yes, okay. So um, next item is about call for volunteers. It's about failing E2E test, which we discussed a little while back. It's see all these are failing because there is a little bit of problem with the Go mod. I think recently we updated few packages and that is conflicting with what we have. So anybody would like to take this up? It's very straightforward. You have to just go back and see which version of the package works fine. and then it would be just that fix. So anybody would like to take this? I think this is failing almost on all adapters currently. So any takers on the okay. Aryan, you would like to take this up? Okay. Would you please create a quick issue on this? I don't think we are tracking this. Yeah, I think someone created this issue. Okay, so you can just comment here and either I or someone else will assign this to you. See, there's already a issue on this. So anybody else would like to take this up? I think this is a prevalent issue on other adapters as well. Any other takers? Yeah, okay, nice. Parthiv, you can, okay. Thanks, Daniel. You can actually look at the other adapters like either Linkerd or I'll give you a link. So if you go to Linkerd, you will go to actions. I think it's, yeah, it's, no, this is some other issue, but like you will see that this is actually failing because of one of the Meshery CTL issue. But if you go to the build action for this, then you'll find that it's failing. This one is working fine, I think, but there are other issues. So, okay. So who would like to work on this Linkerd fix? I'll actually like create issues over here, and then any one of you can take that up, and gradually we all can work on that. So this is one of the action item, call for volunteers. The other item is this component updater script is failing. So those who are new, like let me give you a little overview. That is Meshery's integrations. So Meshery as an extensible cloud native manager integrates with a lot of different projects. Like I think as of today, Meshery integrates with around 200 projects. If you go to if you go to layer5.io and you would like to see its integrations, then yeah, these. So all these Meshery actually integrates with all these projects, and how these are coming is because there is a spreadsheet which actually keeps track of all these. So if you go to Meshery integrations, this actually keeps a track record of all the different integration with Meshery supports. And how all these are being supported is through mesh models, which is like one of the ways through which Meshery defines a different application through which it can either provision or it can realize in the environment. A mesh model is way of defining your applications, your relationships, policies, and yeah, and components of each model. So there are 4 different stuff. Model, which is like, let's say, okay, let me show you visually. So if you go to here and we go to orchestration management, so see, Kubernetes is one of the model which Meshery supports, and under each model there are different components. So API service is one of the component, authorization policy is another component. So all these are represented in mesh model, and these are being tracked here. And these are how these are generated. These are generated through that workflow which I was just showing. So if I go back to that, yeah. So there are 2 workflows. Let me show you. If you go to Meshery scripts, there are 2 scripts. One is component generator, which generates these components and like add them to this mesh model spreadsheet. The other one is mesh model updater. What it does is that once these are added, then these are generated and added to Meshery's GitHub. So if you'll go to mesh model, you will see all the different integrations which are added into the GitHub repo. These are done nightly, like I think every day at 12 a.m. these are generated, UTC, and all these are done through the workflow, which I just showed that which is failing right now. So if you go to workflows, you'll go to mesh model. Yeah, mesh model generator. This generates the all the components and add to the spreadsheet. The other one which is failing right now is the updater script, which is this one, integration updater. So what this does is that it again goes back to the spreadsheet, generates all the components, uses that script which I just showed, and then put them into Meshery's GitHub repo. So currently it's failing because like I think there is a little bit of problem with that function that is being used. So it's it's very easy to track. Like you will go to main.go file, you'll find this specific function and you'll see that invalid number of arguments are being passed. So if you can just fix this, so this workflow would be fixed. So that's all about it. So anybody would like to take this up? It's like a straightforward fix. If someone first, anybody have any questions on the things I explained about the integrations? Any questions about mesh models, relationships, components, how these are being generated, which workflow is used? I think there should be an issue for this. There isn't, but it was actually mentioned in the CI Slack channel. So this is quite urgent because if this is failing, then new components won't be generated from Meshery. So yes. Okay, you all can take time, like go through all these, and in case you like to work on it, then you can mention on the Slack. So that was about this specific thing. The other thing we discussed was about upgrading. Okay, someone raised a question. Yes, Rex, would you like to ask? What's your question?
Sorry, I'm just curious. This might be a bit not as technical as you guys have it, but the failing integrations, how does it affect people who want to possibly access it for work? We're talking about people who come to Meshery now and are trying to load Meshery, maybe use those integrations. What's the negative effect for them on that?
Okay, so what you're asking, what's the negative effect of failing of this workflow?
Yes, exactly. So how does it negatively affect a potential user who say wants to access a certain integration but can't use it specifically?
Yeah, this is a really great question actually. So see, this Meshery integration updater runs like almost every day. Now for currently you'll see that it's failing for about 5 days. So now it's failing. So what would happen? What the consequences of this is that new components won't be generated for Meshery. That is like, even though this spreadsheet will keep on getting updated with the latest components and its metadata, but these information won't be converted to JSON and would be added to GitHub. So since it won't be added, so new users might not be able to have access to those integration instantly until we fix this. So this is quite urgent. So does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. So they need those recent updates for them to function properly, for the integrations to function properly for the fine.
Yes,
Thanks.
yes.
I just wanted to get clarity on it. Thank you.
Welcome. This is quite urgent. So because it's failing for about 5 days. So yes. Okay, so moving to next item. It's about upgrading Meshery's components to Go 1.21. I think we just discussed it's about like recently Meshery upgraded to Go 1.21 to from 1.19. So earlier Meshery was just supporting 1.19 as a officially, but you could still use 1.20. But currently now it officially supports 1.21. So which means that all the components of Meshery needs to be migrated to that. We just discussed there are a couple of PRs on other adapters which are facilitating that, but still like many other adapters still requires an upgrade. And yeah, even Meshkit, which is like a very important thing if you don't know. Okay, let me just show. Meshkit is like quite important. So Meshkit is still on. Okay, here it is. So Meshkit is still on 1.20, which I just saw before the call, which is not good. It's on 1.19, but ideally it should be 1.21 because Meshery has been upgraded, but this also needs to be upgraded now. So I sort of already opened. Okay, he already opened this, so I think it's already assigned. So yeah, so this is quite important. So others can also take other issues which sort of has opened. So slowly we can migrate to the new goal and release. Yeah, getting out soon. Okay, we have discussed this. We have discussed this as well. Okay, so there's one item from Lee which I can discuss. So the issue is like increase max file upload size. So let me first give you an overview about Playground, which we are discussing for quite some time. Let me open. So I'll visually show you what Playground is. So if we go to Meshery, if you go to install basically include different set of configurations for different environments in which you can install Meshery. So we'll go to Playground. We'll go to Docker because currently the Playground installation is a Dockerized version of Meshery. And there is a screenshot from the slides. So first of all, if you already haven't filled the Meshery's newcomers form, then you should fill it because you'll get access to certain architectures which are in the community drive. So this specific screenshot is from that architectures drive of Meshery. So what this give you an overview of Meshery's Playground deployment. So how it is working is like, first of all, it's running on a hosted instance of CNCF, and it is running on two VMs. One is Meshery O1, other one is Meshery O2. In Meshery O1, Meshery Docker Compose app is running, which includes Meshery server, Meshery adapter, and Nginx. The other one is in the other VM, we are just running Kubernetes cluster. And things to notice that this Docker host is the only one which is exposed to the internet, this Playground VM. The other one in which Kubernetes is running is not exposed. So they internally talk through this other IP address and this specific network interface. And yeah, this is like an overview. And see, one of the components is Nginx, the use of Nginx to um, have certain authentication, to have certain kind of security on the deployed version of Meshery Playground. And there was the issue of that when you're uploading any of the files, then there was a certain limit to which you can upload. So Lee upgraded it to 5 MB and also increased the timeout for the Nginx to 120 seconds, I think. Yeah, so it's about that. Anybody has any questions on this? So this is the Playground, like in case you're wondering, and how you see here is the upload button where you can upload your patterns, or you can import your applications, which are whether Helm charts or Docker Compose or Kubernetes manifest, or you can also import your WASM filters directly from your file system. So this is the place where that would be helpful. So yes. Anybody has any questions on this upload issue? Okay, yes. The link to the diagram is here. Okay, so we can move on. I think Mario had joined recently. So Mario, would you like to discuss about Playwright? Like you were working on that with others in the community? If I missed anything.
Yeah, we have this issue, like a parent issue for tracking the different POCs. I don't have the issue link right now, but currently I'm not working on a specific POC, to be honest. There is I think it's a Playwright POC, but it's for the mesh map snapshot GitHub action. So I think that the outcome of that would influence the POC for the a Meshery repo, CI, Playwright POC. What I'm working on right now is I'll actually, do we have a couple of minutes so I can share
Yeah.
what
Of
I'm
course
doing?
you can
Okay,
share. Yeah.
sure.
You
Thank you. Let me just share the screen for a sec. Okay, so I'm working on this. So I'm working on a pull request for the GitHub workflow for the end-to-end tests with that include so it's the build UI and server YAML. So I noticed there are several situations. Like for example, we were building what is it? The UI build didn't upload any artifacts. So then again, during the job that's responsible for running the end-to-end test with whichever tool we're using, which is now Cypress yet, we were rebuilding those artifacts again. So that took a lot of time. And I reordered these steps. So basically, the idea was to specifically in this the test UI E2E. This is the one for the end-to-end test, as we can see here. So I tried to move the kind cluster creation further up, so that gives a bit more time for any internal dependencies of the cluster to be ready. And then set up some other stuff like Node and Go. And I did try. Oh yeah, and also the Meshery adapters, like try to move them up, so that while the rest of the action, like the steps are running, like these have time to initialize properly, right? And it was a bit confusing that this part, it looks like it's waiting 60 seconds and then continuing with the rest. But I noticed that this ampersand is used in a way that the left side command is run in, what is it, in the background. So yeah, I couldn't figure out exactly why. I mean, it's working, so I left it like that. And yeah, it happens, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes things don't make sense, but they work. So I made my pieces with that. And now we download the artifacts. So this seems to give us like 5 minutes back. So that's very good. And we were using UI server, make UI server. And I mean, I did that change recently as part of some other repo, pull request. But I noticed that there were some issues. So I kept with a server make target. And let me see, I was still working on this, so I'm not sure if it's fully functional. But at least I got to a point before doing some more refactoring in here that the test failed, but it's now for a specific issue in the no, well, now it's in the build. Yeah, I need to fix that again. Go build too many arguments. I had fixed that already. But yeah, at some point, let me see if I can find that other run. I'll fix it again. But what was that? Yeah, it was just some missing elements in the UI. So yeah, I'll finish this today. And I mean, to be honest, I still have some what is it? Some hope for using Cypress, but improving the way we're using it. I mean, the main issues we were having, to be honest, was that there's specific Cypress concepts like waiting for a request to complete that don't no longer apply when we're using WebSockets, right? Because it's an asynchronous communication, and we did that change in Meshery a while back, and we started having problems, more and more issues with the Cypress tests. but the idea is that we should stop waiting for requests and start adding conditions in the front end components. And if even if it's a real user, the user should know something's loading, right? So adding spinners and like that pending UI states, that'll help the overall user experience, and it'll also help the tests. So we need to make our project more testable in essence, and also make the test more resilient and less dependent on certain things that are no longer valid, like waiting for a request to complete, and that's how we used to make it work, right? But whichever tool we end up using, I mean, I'll see if we can drive some other POCs, and then we can evaluate what the shortcomings and the benefits of the different tools, right? I just think that if we just disable Cypress right now, that will end up like not that good, right? Even though it's like the idea is to make it stable and look for improvements in the application side so that it's more testable. And while these POCs are being driven, we might need to rebuild things that, like certain test code that we already had working with Cypress, but the other tools have different syntax, they have different paradigm. So that's my status. Yeah, one of these was supposed to, but yeah, I'll finish this today. Any comments or questions? I mean, I did had something, like, for example, there was a moment in which I tried to make the server run directly from the artifact, from the binary. Where was that? Where is it? I can't find it anymore, but it's basically, I have the command right here. If we have one more minute, I'll show it. So I started having this problem, make build server. So I added this target, but it's not merged yet. But basically it's just this, where is that? Here's the makefile, build server. So it's supposed to build the binary and set it as executable. So it does that. But then when I try to run it, I run into this problem. Not sure if it makes a difference if we, yeah, I guess this just, I don't know, go build. I'll just show what it does.
I
So
don't think you
here,
have to convert it into an executable file.
not necessarily, but when we run it in production, does it run as a binary, or do we use the make target, like just to be consistent between how it runs in a real environment?
We do use make target, but I think this is
so
a
even in the container, yeah. So this is really weird, but it doesn't happen if we use make server. I just thought it's kind of pointless to have a job where we build the server and then we build it again. So, but maybe it's just some seconds of difference. Like one of these did work. Let me see. Here, no. Oh yeah, here. For example, it's just for performance reasons. Like, but you know what? I guess this build we do is kind of like really quick. But I don't know. I see it took longer, but sometimes this time isn't tracked properly for some reason. But anyways, yeah, I guess we'll all keep using the make server in the end-to-end test for now. And that's it.
That's a good progress. Like, getting 5 minutes back is quite helpful.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make the when the server and the backend run, I mean the backend and everything runs, make it more stable. Because the same problems we've been running into Cypress, like some of them will still happen with other tools. Like if the app doesn't respond a certain time because it just started, we should try to make improvements so that CI is really stable. So that's what I'm focusing on. That's all.
So anybody has any questions for Mario? So moving on to our last item for today, that is one fix that I quickly did before the call. That was about failing Meshery on boot through Meshery CTL. So like this is quite related to the issue which we were discussing on the start of this call regarding Meshery adapters. Not Meshery adapter tests are failing. One of the reason is that Meshery is not starting in most of them. And the reason for that is we discussed on our one of the Slack channels, that is like Meshery internally uses this when it starts in Kubernetes environment, and it checks for the Kubernetes version, and it was using this short flag, and this has been recently deprecated by Kubernetes community on their latest release. So if we see, the very first change is this, like they have removed this, and we are still using it on our Meshery CTL. So I just removed that from here. So now we shouldn't be having that issue. So yeah,
What
this is
does it
just one.
used to do? The
It
short
was used,
flag?
yeah, I think it was, instead of giving a JSON kind of response, it used to give just, I think just the version. But now they have consolidated this into the main command. So now we don't have to use short. Yeah. So yeah, they actually explained that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And does that break like what we do with that output?
I don't think so.
This is on Meshery CTL, right? Or
Yeah,
where is
in
that?
Meshery CTL. Yeah, Meshery CTL.
Ah, got it.
Mhm.
So we just format the.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
because we're formatting an output from kubectl directly, so maybe just. Is there a test for this, like on checking, like a Go test for the output, or do we do that manually? So maybe you just locally ran the get version. What's the name of the command, like the Meshery CTL command?
yeah, it's actually when we use bash script to start Meshery. So let me show you.
So it's a really specific, it's not facing the CLI itself output, right?
So when we use this command internally, it uses that for starting Meshery, and then it checks for the version and it fails somewhere. So I have removed that to be compatible with latest version. So this is just one small fix. So if anybody would like to give a quick overview, have a look at this PR, and if you have any comments, then let me know. Though I have to check why the Meshkit error is also failing. There are a lot of CI fails on this specific PR. So I'll check them. I think this is some recent changes.
Save
somewhere.
slice. Wow, so Go gets failing for some reason.
I'll have a look after this call. So I think we covered all our items for today, and we discussed a lot of different things related to testing and mesh map snapshot, Meshery CTL, Meshery playground, and all different stuff. So I think that was a learning call for everybody. So now we'll meet on the next call, which would be like 2 weeks from today. And you can check the status on Meshery Layer 5 meetings website. And that's all for today. So see you all on the next call. That's it.
Thanks, Pranav.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.